Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session on Pay by Bank. My name is Cameron, and I sit on our payments go-to-market team here at Plaid. And I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Tommy Crush, who is an engineering manager on our payments team. And together, we're excited to dive into the very popular topic of Pay by Bank. In this session, I'll cover what Pay by Bank is, common use cases we're seeing amongst our customers, and what's fueling the popularity across the globe. And then I'm going to pass it off to Tommy to dive into Plaid's Pay by Bank solution, our newest UX features, and how you can add Plaid to your checkout today. So before we get started, just a quick housekeeping note. Tommy and I are going to stick around after this presentation to answer all of your questions, so feel free to drop them in the chat throughout the session. Also, this session will be recorded and shared with you afterwards. All right, so let's dive in. What is Pay by Bank? So Pay by Bank is simply making a payment online directly from your bank account. So you might ask, well, isn't that how my debit card works? Almost, but not quite. The key difference here is the payment rail that's being used. Debit and credit cards payments are processed on network rails owned by Visa or MasterCard. Whereas with Pay by Bank, the flow of money is traveling on bank rails like ACH in the US, Faster Payments in the UK, or SEPA Instant in Europe. These bank rails are much more cost effective to process payments, and it's a very large reason why more and more of our merchants are adopting a Pay by Bank strategy. Unfortunately, it's taken quite some time to get here though. And that's because the lack of innovation in bank payments, but more specifically in North America. When you think of bank payments today, they are fairly archaic, a bit clunky, and overall just a very poor user experience. On the contrary, credit cards provide a much better UX and faster settlement. However, it's also much more costly. For this reason, we believe that the next frontier of bank payments will solve both these problems and ensure you never have to make that trade-off between UX and cost. Because the reality is that card payments are really expensive. Over and over again, we hear that our merchants' biggest pain point is the cost of payment acceptance. Last year alone, US merchants spent more than $90 billion in swipe fees. That's some of the highest interchange fees across the globe. But with Pay by Bank, they could have reduced those overall costs by over 40%. But like I mentioned earlier, Pay by Bank isn't new. Our friends across the pond have been using it for years. And much of this is driven by payment methods utilizing real-time payment rails, which processed over 266 billion transactions last year. In the EU, payment methods like Swish have grown over 50% year over year. And then in Brazil and India, Pix and UPI continue to lead the charge as the innovator in this space, with double-digit growth over the last 5 years. And looking at rails in the UK and US, we're really excited to see our customers like Moneybox in the UK and Dutchy in the US, who have both adopted their local bank rails to promote faster payments or create their own pay-by-bank solutions for their customers. So why are more and more consumers choosing pay-by-bank? Well, we can point to a few things, but to truly understand this behavior, we need to look at the younger generation of shoppers. An EY study of the US found that payment habits of younger generations, specifically Gen Z, are shifting and include more willingness to save and a much stronger preference towards using debit cards and alternative payment methods like buy now, pay later. In the US, over 52% of Gen Zs use their debit card today as their preferred payment method. So it's becoming increasingly more important to stay on top of these evolving payment preferences and ensure that you're meeting the expectations of your shopper. So Pay by Bank sounds great, but where can you use it? The demand for Pay by Bank is growing, and we're seeing this across all types of segments. Where a shopper needs to make a payment, Pay by Bank exists. This includes bill pay, e-commerce, online marketplaces, digital wallets, subscriptions, and so many more use cases. And that's why Plaid has built a Pay by Bank solution that will fit your checkout experience. Two of the most prominent use cases that we've seen amongst our own customers is within bill payments and e-commerce. With bill pay, you can now use Pay by Bank to bill customers for rent payments, subscriptions, invoices, phone bills, gym memberships, you name it. Plaid's Pay by Bank solution will help you drive customers to a lower cost ACH payment method for these recurring types of transactions. Historically, billers have had to rely on either legacy ACH billing methods or expensive card rails. But with Plaid, billers can now provide these same users with a high converting and instant verification experience that one's going to reduce their overall payment costs, but more importantly, it's going to help them reduce that payment churn and payment failures that they've been facing over the years. And then it comes to e-commerce. Our customers have literally been asking us to enable bank payments in their checkout for years. And so today, we're really excited to announce our paybybank solution for e-commerce. Merchants with repeat purchase behavior or large transaction size paybybank within their checkout to accept low-cost payments. And with that, I'll pass it off to Tommy to show you what these experiences will look like in your checkout.
Sweet. Thanks, Cam. Hey, everyone. I'm Tommy, and I'm an engineering manager on our payments team here at Plaid. For the next few minutes, I'll be walking you through our payment solution and how Pay by Bank works. To set the stage here, Plaid is a payments company. It's a little known fact, but we have our hand in nearly $500 billion of bank payments annually, and our risk products assess over $4 billion in bank payments on a monthly basis. So simply put, we know how ACH works. We also know that how ACH has worked in the past is not how it'll work for Pay by Bank. Part of my job is to constantly pressure test how we're thinking about the end-to-end requirements of a Pay by Bank solution and how we make sure it's a successful solution for y'all and your customers. So I'm going to chat a little bit about that solution today. There's a lot of buzz about what Pay by Bank can offer out in the market right now. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, so I hear it too. And it's especially around those cost savings. While I agree this is a super attractive part of Pay by Bank, it's important to remember that those cost savings will only be realized if two things happen. First, your customers need to choose to adopt Pay by Bank. And second, when they choose to adopt, they need to successfully authorize the payment at success rates that are comparable to other payment methods you have on that page. When it comes to adoption, we've been experimenting with a number of different UIs. And through this process, we found how important it is to have a UX that is convenient and actually calls out to your shopper. Beyond the look and feel, the experience needs to be contextualized to your customer, easy to use, and consistent with your overall checkout. That's why we're excited to share two payment method experiences that check all of these boxes. The first one, and the one that I'm most excited about, is our embedded search experience. This component allows you to bring Plaid link directly onto your checkout page, enabling your users and your customers to immediately click on their preferred bank or search their bank without leaving your checkout page if they don't see it there. And by taking those strategies, we've actually seen overall adoption of Pay by Bank almost double with our pilot customers, which has been really exciting to see. The other option we provide is our dynamic button. It's built with the same context-aware capabilities as the embedded search component. It can display incentives, recognizable bank logos, and other copy that's relevant to educate the shopper about the convenience of Pay by Bank with Plaid. Today, we're seeing a baseline adoption of about 20% when Pay by Bank is enabled at your checkout. However, offering just even a 1% incentive can up to 3x adoption. Now, instead of driving loyalty to card programs powered by large issuers, you can use small incentives to power your own brand loyalty and further the adoption of more cost-effective payments like Pay by Bank. And when you use Plaid's end-to-end payment Pay by Bank solution, Plaid can actually orchestrate tracking and sending these incentives to your customers for you. So it's a really out-of-the-box solution ready to go. The second and most important factor of a successful payment method is conversion. I see how hard y'all work to get your customers to the point of purchase, and now we need to make sure they convert. This is where the Plaid magic sauce comes in. Each day, more people authenticate bank payments using Plaid compared to any other bank link service on the planet. With over 100 million people who have used Plaid Link to sign up for apps and services, not only is Plaid Link a recognizable and seamless user experience, but it's also trusted. With the help of the Plaid network, users who have interacted with Plaid before can access a streamlined UX and Pay by Bank in just a few clicks. So how does all of this work? There are a few factors that impact overall payment success. With Plaid Pay by Bank, we've removed all the complexity that comes with bank payments and simplified it to a solution that orchestrates Pay by Bank payments in just 3 easy steps. We call these tap, secure, and move. In the tap step, your customer authenticates their bank payment. Embed our Plaid Link module into your checkout to allow customers to authenticate and provide their banking details to submit a payment. They never have to leave the page. Next is to secure the payment and ensure it's low risk. This ensures consent on the amount from the customer and also is where Plaid mitigates the delayed settlement return risk, especially in the United States. At the time that the user authorizes the payment, we tap into the Plaid risk engine to make a payment risk decision. This whole process analyzes not just honestly pretty obvious metadata like available balance, but also utilizes our whole network level insights on how this account is operating around the Plaid ecosystem. In the last step, simply we move the money. Once the payment is approved, the payment is processed and you're set and ready to go. Here at Plaid, we believe in an open ecosystem where our customers decide on their own tech stacks, not us. And for that reason, we are payment processing agnostic. We offer an end-to-end solution with Plaid Pay by Bank to tie all these pieces together seamlessly for you, or you can use Plaid with any of your processing partners to date. This includes Adyen, Checkout.com, Nuvei, and many other PSPs. Plaid will handle the bank authentication and risk, and then pass it off to your payments partner to process the payment. Enabling Pay by Bank has truly never been easier. Take a look at some of our customers that are already leading the charge on this new frontier of payments across different use cases of bill pay and e-commerce. All right, that was a lot. Thanks for your time. I know we covered a lot, so we're bringing Cameron back in here, and we'd love to open it up to Q&A and hear from you all. Maybe, Cam, we should just start going through the submitted questions now.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's see here. What types of customers are using Plaid Pay by Bank today? Great question. So customers of all sizes are using Pay by Bank today, and the use cases we are seeing are continuously growing. We're definitely in the early innings of Pay by Bank here in North America, but we're seeing really strong traction amongst our bill pay customers. So think telco, insurance, prop tech, but also for discretionary purchases like entertainment subscriptions or even your gym membership. With regards to e-commerce, merchants with higher order values have been at the forefront of bringing Pay by Bank into their checkout. So these include categories like travel and hotel or home and furniture purchases. That being said, we're also working with customers whose shoppers have a strong repeat purchase behavior, and their order value sizes also range from $50 to $200. So there really is a strong product market fit, especially for those types of customers who are generally paying, upwards of 3% on card fees. And so cost savings of 40 to 50% are very meaningful.
Sweet. Awesome. Another one here is, how long does this process take? How quickly can we get up and going? Truthfully, this can actually be very quick. So there's two stages of this. There's the contracting and compliance side of it. And then there's actually integrating against our APIs. The contracting and compliance, you can move as fast as you want to move. On the integration side, we've actually seen some customers go live in a matter of weeks with like a single developer or less. I think the fastest one was like a week and a half that we interacted with. But yeah, you can go pretty quickly. We pride ourselves on quick integration and moving fast. So cool. What other questions we got in here, Cam?
I see one. What are some things I can do to drive more adoption of Pay by Bank amongst my customers? Yeah, so we're already seeing really strong adoption for Pay by Bank across a variety of use cases. So when presented to customers today, we're seeing baseline adoption of customers choosing Pay by Bank between 10 to 20%, and that depends on the category as well. However, there are definitely a few levers that you can pull to further that adoption amongst your customers. The first lever I would touch on is UX. We found that with our current customers, they've nearly doubled their Pay by Bank adoption by simply using a more intuitive UX at their checkout, using tools like our embedded UX that Tommy walked us through. Shoppers really value convenience, and we've seen that customers prefer easy and simple options to connect their bank account. And so when you bring that up forward to them, and let them know how easy it is to connect their bank account, it's going to lead to much higher adoption. The second lever I would say is really around incentives. Utilizing incentives such as rewards points or discounts to choose Pay by Bank, they have a significant impact on adoption. Customers today can expect anywhere between 2 to 3x lift in adoption with just a 1% discount at checkout. So I would say more and more of our customers are leaning into incentives as a primary adoption or driver for adoption, especially in e-commerce. And I would say the last lever that you could really touch on, or even I would say target your efforts in, is on the audience. Younger customers and debit card users today have a much higher adoption rate of Pay by Bank as they're familiar with the process of linking your bank account. When you think about it, many of them already are doing this with their favorite apps today, also with Plaid. So there's a familiarity about play there as well. So connecting their accounts to Cash App, Venmo, Robinhood, targeting these types of shoppers, these younger shoppers with Pay by Bank, will also lead to higher adoption rates.
Sweet. There's one in here I'll take, Cam. When do you anticipate the Pay by Bank product leveraging RTP rails? So RTP and FedNow have made a lot of buzz in the industry recently, and rightfully so. They speed up payments quite a bit. It's important to remember there's two sides of payments. There's payouts, and then there's collecting payments. On the payouts, our Plaid transfer product actually already supports RTP and FedNow today, so you could go ahead and get started on that. Are for pay-ins and collecting funds from these rails are actually still quite immature at the moment. There's not very much bank support for them. This will change over time, and actually we are actively looking at our first pilots of using what's called request for payment on RTP. But if you integrate against our APIs for Pay by Bank, it is future compatible towards when those rails become widely available. So you'll be all forward compatible and ready to go as they roll out. Cam, what else we got in here?
I'll take this one. I see a question about Canada, and as a local Canadian, I feel I can answer this one. Availability in Canada. Yeah, so you can enable Plaid Pay by Bank today in Canada. We actually have gone live recently with TELUS with our Pay by Bank solution for their bill pay service. So the way it would work in Canada is Plaid will handle the bank authentication and the risk management, and then we're going to pass off those bank details to your payment partner to actually process that payment on the EFT rails. So in Canada, as of today, Plaid's end-to-end solution is not available. However, we can still help with that front end, providing you with the UX for a user to connect their account safely, then retrieve those details, give you some risk signals to make sure that the payment's going to get processed, and then we pass off those details off to your payment processor to complete the payment.
Sweet. Cool. I have one in here. What type of incentives do you see partners creating to encourage adoption of Pay by Bank? In most cases, we see customers offering about a 1% incentive to adopt Pay by Bank. This varies, I would say, based on kind of saved payment method use case, non-saved payment method. If it's a saved payment method, frankly, you want to. It's even more valuable to get people to adopt Pay by Bank because you can use that payment over and over again, and so the incentive might be a little bit higher, but it's often around 1%. Maybe I'll pop to one here real quick about recurring payments, Cam.
Sure.
There's a question about, do we support recurring payments? Particularly we know for bill pay, this is really important. Yes, we support recurring payments. Our transfer product, our end-to-end Pay by Bank solution has a recurring payments feature where you can set up essentially, hey, have this happen every month. That's in the API, and just another, one more API to transfer creation. So it's super easy to use. Cool. Cam, what else we got here?
I am scrolling through here. Give me 1 second. Okay, nice. Can this Pay by Bank solution be integrated if a merchant is working with a payment processor like Braintree or Stripe, or is Adyen the only supported one for now? Yeah, so with our Plaid Pay by Bank solution, there's really two types of integrations. There's a direct integration where Plaid's going to handle end-to-end bank authentication, risk, and money movement. And then the second one is our partner integration. And so in our partner integration, we'll handle the front end. And so we'll be able to provide you with the UX to have your user securely log in, collect those bank account details, and patch you some risk signals. And then we'll pass over those details to your payment processor of choice to complete the payment. Today, we have a deeper integration with Adyen that exists today. So it makes turning on Pay by Bank with Adyen even more simple. So if you're an existing customer of Adyen, it's almost as configuring a simple tool in your dashboard to configure Pay by Bank. Whereas with other payment processors, you can still use Plaid today with our partner referral system. So again, essentially what you'll use us for is collect those details, and then you can pass those details to any processor, whether it be Braintree or whether it be Stripe, to go ahead and process those payments on their ACH rails.
Sweet. Maybe this other question, Cam, kind of dovetails straight into or that are very relevant, so I'll just address it. Do you offer Pay by Bank directly to merchants and e-commerce? Does that conflict with fintech companies that want to offer payment solutions? There are, one super important thing to call out here. Our partners are like very important to our strategy and our ecosystem. So this we definitely does not conflict with this. Our view is that we want to offer as many options as possible for customers to use the stack that makes sense for them. That's why we partner with PSPs, Adyen, Nuvei, Checkout, many others. But for some folks, they may want an all-in-one solution where their top of funnel for ACH, aka account linking, is linked to their bottom of funnel payment processing, and that may make more sense for their stack. So we work flexibly with everyone in the ecosystem. Let's see here. Cool. I'll take this one because I spend a lot of time in it in my day-to-day. One downside of ACH compared to card rails is the time to process. How does Plaid protect against insufficient funds events, especially if processing takes multiple days and the order is already fulfilled? We totally understand this. This is, there's two reasons why ACH has struggled with adoption over the years. One is a cumbersome consumer experience. We're solving that. The second is this delayed settlement risk. We have the Signal product, which has already been in market for several years and is the market's best, essentially, ACH return risk prediction product. Using that, you're able to essentially make ACH work instantly. So we understand this as a challenge. We're continuing to work in this space, and we do have more to come here in the future. But our Signal product, we're very excited to leverage that to power instant fulfillment.
I'm
Cool.
seeing a question, Tommy, on that note, with regards to ACH money flow and how that works with the consumer. Is it seamless to file a dispute? As a consumer, I want to be protected by $0 fraud guarantee. Yeah, so the process here, from a consumer standpoint, similar to that of what you would do with credit cards. The ACH rail is basically going to require you to lodge a dispute directly with your bank. And if they can prove that the transaction was indeed not authorized, then you'll receive your money back.
There's a dispute process within ACH, and you would reach out to your bank for that, as Cam noted. So, what is the transaction limit in dollar amounts? In general, we find that we don't have limits that tend to hit most customers in these pay by bank and e-commerce use cases. There's a reason why you don't buy houses with ACH. It's not appropriate for huge transactions. But we've yet to encounter a case where we've said, oh, no, we can't handle this e-commerce or bill pay use case. So anything within reason, up to around $10,000 cases, we see just fine. Cool. I'm scrolling down here. So many questions. Oops. Yeah. What is the typical settlement speed on the business side? As we've noted, kind of delayed settlement return risk. Our general pay by bank solution operates with a hold time that is comparable to cards. So in cards, you get around a 2-day business day payout. ACH can work the same. We run all of the transactions over same day ACH to really speed up the funds as much as we can.
Nice. I see an interesting question here too, actually. So this kind of touches on what I'd mentioned earlier about how you can drive further adoption with Pay by Bank. So, how will Pay by Bank break through customer preferences in the US for rewards and purchase protection? So, this is a really good question. So, we found that there are a few camps of shoppers when it comes to payment preferences. And the reality is that, rewards cards are not actually available to everyone. So, while the majority of Americans have credit cards, only 40 to 45% of them actually have a credit card or a credit score above 670, which is generally the requirement for a good rewards card. So, for that reason, only a subset of consumers are actually using rewards cards, or they're actually motivated by the rewards on their credit cards or when making a purchase. But what's really interesting when we talked about adoption earlier is that we still have seen a lot of our merchants or customers win these same shoppers over, and the way they're doing so is through incentives. So with the right incentive, especially for higher value transaction sizes, consumers are willing to actually migrate over and use Pay by Bank to make those purchases. So I don't think it's a perfect science. I don't think like we're not looking at this as a means of going after all high-end US reward credit cards. But there is a subset of those users that exist today that are willing to migrate over to Pay by Bank. And then at the broader lens, the majority of Americans today actually are not motivated by credit card rewards. And so those are your debit card users or your standard credit card users, where we believe that Pay by Bank will be a sufficient payment method for them.
We have a few more minutes left, and I have one here. What are the primary challenges with pay by bank adoption with merchants that you've experienced? So in years past, basically what the flow has been is a pay by bank kind of like hyperlink text or just a plain button that looks like every other button on the page, and you click it and it opens link in a new tab or anything. It's been a more clunky experience. Those have not worked well, and which is why we put a work stream together in the last year to really go heads down on this and bring link into the checkout page. That alone was the biggest, most impactful thing we've done. We've seen, as we mentioned before, adoption for some of our pilot customers reach 20% in that flow. So that's really awesome. Other like so that's been a big part of the consumer adoption. Incentives has further juiced that, and between the two of those, our pilot customers are all pretty happy with their adoption levels. In terms of kind of back of house, the delayed settlement return risk. If you are operating yourself on a delayed fulfillment, right, maybe a travel that occurs in the future, customers have not struggled with that. If you are instant fulfillment, I'm doing this right now. We've been working on some new risk tooling to make that very easy for you and make that challenge go away. And we'd love to chat with you more about that. Please reach out to your Plaid account manager, and we'd love to get you started on that.
Nice. I'm seeing a question here on pricing. Can you give us an idea of what Plaid costs per pay by bank transaction? Is it cents per transaction or a percentage of transaction size like credit card companies? So, two things here. It really depends on whether you're processing with us or you're using one of our partners to move the money. If you do process with us, it's typically a combination of fixed plus BIPs with a cap. And then more so, I would say with regards to like pricing as a whole, it's typically custom based on volumes, use case, and products used. And so we can work with merchants directly to get a more accurate answer of like what to expect here. Overall, though, what we're seeing is that we're pricing this at a point where if you compare it to what you're seeing with debit and credit card costs today, cost savings would be at a minimum 40%. So highly competitive pricing here from our end as well.
And then maybe the last one with 1 minute left. This is a little bit more technical, but what is the success rate essentially, or the approval rate of the risk transaction scoring? What this question noted was Signal. In our initial, so Signal was built really for fintech companies years ago. We've started applying it to some e-commerce use cases, and we've seen great success there. One of our pilot customers does over 100,000 ACH transfers a month, and their approval rate is 90 to 95%, and they're pretty happy with their back of house on that. So overall, we're seeing good numbers. They were seeing Signal translate into this new segment quite well. So
Yeah.
I think we are running out of time, and that's it. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Really appreciate it, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
See ya.